Hey guys, how are you guys doing today? Have you guys enjoyed the con so far? So welcome again to the Sonic and Zelda panel. So first of all, I want you guys to, they're here actually, so I want you guys to give a really, really loud, I just want you guys to be loud. I don't want them to win ever. So I need you guys to be as loud or louder than them. Can you guys do that for me? Yeah. So give a shout out to Patricia Summersett and Roger Craig Smith. There's a mic in the back, so if you guys can line up and make sure that you can, in a nice orderly fashion, running over things. And then after that, we'll just have them, do a slight introduction, some of the things that you guys have done before, and then we'll start questions. So that's all right with you guys.
Hello, hello.
Okay, first question.
All right, so
no, I was kidding.
I was supposed to do an introduction. I would love to think that our introductions would have been the two of us just going. So we're good. Everybody's satisfied. So no one with children, but other adults is totally allowed. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, you got to think for yourself.
That's true. Patricia, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Patricia.
Hi, Patricia.
I'm so happy to be in Huntsville, Alabama. And I split my time between Montreal and LA, and I've been voice acting now for many, many years, as well as theater and TV film. Got my start in my 20s when I went to theater school. Discovered that you could actually do voice acting for a living and get paid for it, and I was really excited about this. What? Get paid? What else do you want to know? I'm sitting by Roger, it's amazing. It's my friend. I grew up in Upper Michigan, so I call myself a Uber. Everybody knows what that is. Yeah, that's it for now. I feel like we're going to have questions coming our way. On to you, sir.
Hi, my name is Roger Craig Smith. So happy to be here in Huntsville, Alabama with the local sports team. Rockets.
Trash badass.
You gotta be kidding me. You really get that big. Minor league baseball? What about mountain? Are they the danger snakes? What are they? The habit? The habit. Okay, I was like, what's going on with these names? Come on, Phil. It's just I'm failing it. The whole trying to drum up local support, but it was fun. I'm so happy to be here. Local, and then, of course, there was one. Trash bandits.
Trash cannons.
Trash cannons. Okay.
The raccoons.
Yeah, but I'm like, did you guys name?
He got voted on.
It's like voting with both faces. Is that what happened? Is Huntsville, Alabama known for just crazy raccoons or something? Is it really? You guys are really crazy stuff. You guys are crazy ducks. Muscovy ducks? Wow, ducks. that's my introduction. Anybody in this room, if you don't know who we are and what we're doing, that's a little bit of an odd thing for you to be in this room then. So, but voice actor, we've done all sorts of things since, gosh, too long. That's where all the listeners are coming from. So,
You have one for each character.
it feels like that. It's feeling that way.
Regular show takes up as much of your face.
That's no, so yeah, Sonic and Batman and Ezio and different things in the garage. Yes, so yes. So now, officially, first question.
I have a quick question for both of you. So, Roger, quick question. How fast can you go? And do you ever run like Sonic?
You know, when you say like run like Sonic, you mean like the Sonic?
Yeah.
No. No. That's a quick way to get arrested. Picture me, just a grown man, running down the sidewalk by himself at any hour of the day, like this. You know, I wouldn't make it 5 blocks before somebody like, sir, pull it over. I have some questions for you. And I don't go very fast.
Holding a cage, like you could
Yeah.
hold.
But nobody would get arrested. If I had a key, maybe I wouldn't get arrested, but no, I don't run like Sonic. At 48, I can break something. Or just literally fly off of me, you know, like involuntarily. So I don't go too quick. I don't go fast. I'm more slow and methodical in my movements as I age. But I try to stay active, which would be nowhere near as great a slogan for Sonic. Instead of like, gotta go fast, because must stay active. I don't think it'd be that popular. So. Consistently slow. But I sound fast.
I respect.
Okay, thank you. And now, a quick one for you.
All right,
Respect your elders. I just want to
all right. So a lot of times with the Sonic games, I'm sorry, not Sonic. Zelda
No,
games.
I'm in all the Sonic games too. You just never saw me or heard me, but I'm in there.
Do you jump, or would you rather jump or roll in real life if you had to get somewhere quickly?
Am I by a cliff?
Or a hill? Yes.
Because if I was by a hill, I would roll down. Otherwise, I jump.
Okay, great.
If I may, when you think about it,
Uh-huh.
a cliff is just a really steep hill. Good.
I'm sure that rolling hills can roll vertical. I don't think that
I understand such water.
I mean, like a paraglider, if I don't have one, I try to roll. If you're falling, you try to roll. So you're going to break all your bones, but
All right, thank you so much.
I roll fast.
Good question.
Hi. Question about the Zelda Sonic series. With there being so many different iterations of both of those characters, which version would y'all say is y'all's favorite, and what's your favorite characteristic of the characters?
I'm going to avoid making a joke about your princess, but so. Maybe Ocarina of Time. I really like Ocarina of Time because it's something that I haven't been directly in for that franchise. And all the old games, the old Zelda series, love it. Zelda. There we go. Yeah, no, come on, guys. I just don't allow that.
That should have been like a Foley sound effect for like smatter. It was literally. Yeah. My gosh, so I go back to being 14, 15, somewhere there, when literally Sega Genesis came out with Sonic Hedgehog, the original game. And I remember walking, I was in the Tustin Marketplace shopping mall in Tustin, California, and they had like a Circuit City, you know, like it was just, you know, defunct. Man, that's so old. It's like, I don't remember. Yeah. Welcome to Circuit City, where service is state of the art. That was it. Yeah. No, I remember walking by one of the display windows, and it was like I didn't have a console. I grew up on like television as the gaming console, and then all of a sudden there was this Sega Genesis and that kind of thing. I never even had like a Nintendo N64, any of that stuff, like the original NES, like none of that. I didn't have any of those things. And here's this Genesis, and they were like had on display this game, this Sonic the Hedgehog game. And I remember thinking I've never seen a video game move that fast. And so if I'm thinking back to like just what is some of my sort of favorite memories of like this entire incredible thing that I've been able to be a part of, which is going to celebrate 35 years of existence. 14 years now. If we go back to like 2010, we started recording in 2009, kind of thing. So yeah, no, I would go like literally for me, it's just the regional zone, the music, the coloration, the color patterns, and even just the old school, like, 16-bit kind of like look, which is just amazing. And that was the part of the question you were asking, like sort of historically, what do we appreciate about our franchises?
Yeah, just more of like which version of the character was considered your most favorite?
Yeah, I mean, I know that sounds kind of crazy too, but there's something about, there's been books on this. I can remember thinking, because it's weird for me to be a voice actor and do what I get to do, and who I get to voice, but also saying like my favorite version is the one that doesn't talk. But just thinking of what it was with Sonic the Hedgehog with, the tapping of the foot, where if you put the game down and didn't continue playing, and there's been like books that have talked about that was like such a very important moment in gaming, to where it was sort of breaking that fourth wall, to where the character that you're playing would suddenly kind of look at you as the player and be like, hey, let's go. Like look at the watch and then look when stretch happens, let's get going. You gotta go fast. Or you must remain active. and so like to me, like being part of something that big, that was impacting me at 14, and now I'm at 48, and got to go on the left. So yeah, I would say like really old school for me. Old school.
Thank you. And I also grew up with Intellivision as well.
Say that again.
I said I also grew up with Intellivision as
Nice.
well.
Good to know. Thank you. I have related to like an early Sonic is that I do a dead-on impression of classic Sonic. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
Y'all are the best track cameras ever. What's that like? I wouldn't know.
I've got two questions, one for Roger specifically and for both of you. I'm really appreciate you being here. The first one for Roger. So a lot of us here are Sonic fans, and some great Sonic cosplay, the merch, everything. And personally, I grew up with you as a voice of Sonic, so I noticed that your voice directions were going to change with Frontiers. I wanted to ask you what that was like on a more voice direction, how you approached the character. I noticed his voice was deeper, there was different writing with it. So I want to kind of hear your thoughts on that.
So it's interesting. So the thing that is a lot of people assume very often that I'm somehow influencing these decisions, and that is not how most voiceover work tends to go. I show up even with something as like a legacy character like Sonic, and I'm still going to listen to what the director, writers, and producers, and everybody that's involved with the production of the game wants to have happen with that particular game. And literally, Frontiers was no different. I think there's been a video that's been kind of chopped up and craftfully edited to make it seem like it was a derogatory thing, but there was a joke where I was telling the story of like I showed up to do our first session of Frontiers, and Jack Fletcher, our director of literally the entire time I've been involved since 2010, he says, you want to hear, your Sonic voice? And I was like, no, I know it's Sonic. He goes, no, we're not doing it like that. I was like, what do you mean this is going to be a little different? And I started going, like, it's over, Egghead. And I was like, no, a little deeper. It's over, Egghead. 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 It's right there. I'm like, you got it. There's no way there. And that's just how it went. But then it made such great sense once I realized what it was doing as a story. The storytelling. It made great sense to me to think about the more serious emo-sonic themes that were being done in the writing of Frontiers. And if you had this guy, it just wouldn't land the same. So it was a little more grounded kind of an approach, and I thought it worked like exceptionally well. So far the reception has been phenomenal, and people get that it's like, that's a standalone for now. And we have all these different, there's never been a better time to be a Sonic fan. You've got the Cinematic Universe, you've got Sonic Prime, you've got games that are still coming, we've got more Twitter activity, you've got Lego sets, there's just so much going on, so it's going to be a lot of bases getting covered, and I think that was really cool.
And for the questions for both of you, you two have been doing this for a while, lots of projects that you've worked on. I know there are some projects that you guys end up working on that you're really proud of, but it just doesn't get the attention. So what are projects for both of you, or one specifically, that you feel like needs more attention than you put your heart and soul into?
Great question.
Yeah, that's a great question. What I feel needs more attention. Sometimes I'm like, well, if it didn't get the attention, there might be a reason for that. But not always. I mean, sometimes it's just a matter of when it comes out and whether or not it hits the sort of budget committed. I think of projects that I really enjoyed working on that didn't get as much attention as I hoped it would. I think of like Ghost Recon Breakpoint, for example. And I think, yeah, that game sort of kind of came and went, and a lot of people, some people here are fans of that game. But just the amount of work and the quality of work and the length of work that we did on that game was so much fun, and there was just a ton of motion capture with it, a ton of story. The team had a great time. The team worked so hard to put that story together. And so to see a game come up and it kind of fizzle a little bit more was like, oh, like, you know, it's like, really? And so maybe that one, yeah, it was kind of a great point for me. I wish it could have gotten just been propelled and, you know, shown its way. But yeah, there's so many projects like that you just work on all the time that you might even consider you did your best work in that, and nobody's ever really going to see it. And then there's things like theater that, you know, 5 people see, and you're like, I just poured my heart and soul onto the stage. What about you?
It's interesting because there's like a number of them that you can kind of go, oh wow. It's like I mean, obviously you want every single project that you have to become the next Star Wars. That'd be great. I think of like, I had so much fun working on Unikitty that it's like, if that had just gone on for maybe a little bit longer, you know, it would have been neat to see where they would have taken more of those stories. Because it's just such great writing. There's Ed Scudder, Lil Wang, like these folks that were behind it were I mean, Halloween, like there were so many people that were so good at coming up with these just zany storylines, and it was like, it just kind of came and went, and it didn't really find, I don't know that like it found as consistent an audience as would have been desired, and I was just a blast being a part of it, so I guess maybe that one. Clarence did well, but I feel like it could have gone like longer on Cartoon Network. Yeah, it's weird. Kitty maybe over some of those others, but there's so many. There's times you just go, oh man, this is going to be massive, it's going to be great, and it just, you know, stuff just happens. It's like, sometimes it's marketing, sometimes it's timing, sometimes bad things happen in the world, and you can't release something at that time, and it's not uncommon, so we're after my brain, and I think, well,
Yeah.
you know. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Roger, I have a out there question for you, and it's about Dying Light.
Careful. There are children in the room.
In 2016, following the release of the following expansion pack, there was a Spotlight edition available for $10 million, which included features like a supporting role in a Dying Light movie, a copy of the script, and professional acting lessons straight from you. Do you have any memory of signing on to such a thing? I'm not making this up, by the way. I have a picture.
Is it written by AI?
$10 million?
It says right here, professional acting lessons straight from you.
Yeah, that's not. First of all, I'm no professional. No reason to be teaching anybody. No, if you have $10 million, you go make your own movie and you star in it. You don't give it to another company to get a supporting role. You make your own movie where you're the star with $10 million. No, that doesn't exist. Unless it was just them being April Fool.
It was not an April Fool's joke. This is in February.
Maybe it was an early April Fool. And any fool who would spend $10 million to be a part, there's no movie based on, this just reeks of bamboozling in many, many ways. So, no, I'm not aware of it. I would not have consented to that, because I would have been like, well, first of all, there's a baby, there's something. My services will be worth. No, I think there's something very strange going on. I smell shenanigans. Shenanigans are afoot. Some trash cans are behind this, and I don't think some bad stuff going on here. No, that's beyond absurd.
Okay,
Sorry, I guess that wasn't really a question, was it? It was more, you've educated me on the fact that, man, I could be making $10 million right now.
I had to know if you consented.
Oh my God, it's the internet. If you were to see half the stuff that my name's been put on, that would, yeah, it's not, that doesn't make it right or legit.
Not the way AI floods the market right now with a bunch of this completely false information. You really do need to check all the sources.
Yeah.
Because we're about to get flooded even more with all this.
And believe me, I'm not calling you a liar. I'm sure that exists, but there's just no way it's legit. There's no way anybody wants $10 million. My God. It has to be, if it was the company that was behind it, they have to be. They're bamboozled. They're bamboozled. I'm gonna look it up though. I know you're legit. I know you have a photograph. Great question. It's interesting.
Okay, so real quick for Roger, is your booth still going to be open after this?
Yes, we are both going to go back and we are signing for an hour after this up until 5 o'clock and then they kick us all out.
All right. But my question for you is, so I'm rather young. You've been the voice of Sonic since I've been able to hold a controller, but that's not the same for a lot of people. So I have to ask, when I came to taking over that role, was there any nervousness kind of filling up those big red and white shoes?
Always. I mean, any legacy character, and I'm sure I speak for both of us up here, like anytime you're doing something that's been established with somebody else, you get that it's like, oh, okay. But it's no different than Batman, when we did that in 2013, sorry. It was a celebratory sort of like, oh my gosh, I booked this role, and I was like, oh my gosh, I booked this role. Where you get to that, it's like, both Troy and I had worked on Origins, we were sitting there thinking, both Kevin and Mark have established these characters. That's our version of Batman and Joker. And here we are stepping in to do this thing that companies make these decisions and all that stuff happens. And that's no different than how I took over Sonic with there was a casting. I showed up for a casting. I listened to our director and suddenly there was a callback and then they said, you got it. And it was like, okay, great. And I can remember Patrick, a gentleman who works at Sega of America, had emailed me on the morning of when he said, hey, just to give you a heads up, today at around noon, Eastern time, they're going to be announcing that you're now the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog, it's about upcoming projects and that kind of thing. I was like, all right. He's like, just be ready. And I was like, all right. And I was like, I don't see what the big deal is. I don't know what's going to happen, kind of thing. And I was not prepared for the Sonic fan base and how voice changes and things like that can impact. And I get it from that perspective. But it was hilarious because it was like noon, Eastern Pacific, whatever that was, all sorts of like emails. I had like a website that had my email address on it. I was like, you sound too old, you're horrible, what have you done to Jason? What? I was like, what? I know. And I get it. I've heard so many different people talk about taking over different characters and legacy roles and that kind of thing. And I get that it's like, you can sit there and go, well, you're not my version of this character. I grew up on such and such. And it's like, well, those are things that that's the typical Sonic fan response. I get that it's like, you grew up here with something different, that kind of thing, and that's a chance, I think, for fan bases to welcome into the fold new fans and say, hey, so you like this? You like this new version? Here's what I like. And back in the 90s, it was this, and in the early 2000s, it was this, and ever since then, it was this, and this is why we all love it. Isn't that great that we all have different versions that we all get to adapt and shift and change to so that legacy kind of continues on? It's of course you're nervous because you know what you're up against, and we just try to do the best we can. Just take a job. It's really what it is. Take a job, listen to your directors, your producers, your writers, and do the best you can.
Well, I just want to say real quick before I go, I hope you don't listen to those people because I think you've done an amazing job.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Very nice. Thank you. If you listen to those people, because I try to listen to what it is that they dislike and hear and that kind of thing. Sega, but every now and then there might be something that kind of go, hey, I don't think I would do that. I don't think so I would say that, or I think we should think about this. Okay, but how about we pay homage to some of the legacy that we think? So thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
So I just wanted to start by saying I love both of your work. Two of my favorite franchises. Been playing them since I was a diaper, so just thank you so much. I'm one of those Sonic fans who grew up with Ryan Drummond and Jason Griffin. And I was just wondering, when you were going into that role, along the same vein, how did you take like what their voices sounded like? How did you take them into account as inspiration for your own song?
You want to answer?
You know, same for Zelda, honestly.
No, it's we do it.
Honestly, I did serious when I say that, I've already kind of alluded to it. I am a hired gun. That is the job of a voice actor. It's so rare that I show up to something. I don't walk into the door. I have people kind of say, like, you need to tell Sega. And I'm like, how does that work? Do I need to tell Mr. Sega, Mrs. Sega? Like, there's that thing. I walk in the door of a voiceover studio and I go, what are we doing? Every single time, including with Sonic, including, like I said, with Frontiers, I walked in and I was thinking, oh, no, I know where we're at. They're like, nope, we're doing something very different. And honestly, even if I wanted to say, I'm going to incorporate things that Ryan or Jaleel or Jason have done, and even now, Devin, Ben, that kind of thing, that's not my decision to make. That's not for me to say. That's for me to listen to Jack, our director, or whoever is directing it. If it's a Lego Sonic commercial, I'm listening to what the Lego crew wants me to do. And sometimes it's a little more like old school. It's going even beyond like before, well before Frontiers, that kind of thing. That's the job. So I don't tend to pay too much attention or try to get too lost in lore, canon, and things like that, because every single session can be something entirely different.
That's fascinating. I have a slightly different answer, but kind of the same too. For Zelda, didn't know what I was auditioning for, so brought in a voice, and then it got accepted, and then they've already made it, they've already sort of proved what you're going to do, basically. So that's also how that can go.
Was there like a previous voice actor that you had in mind when you auditioned before you had direction?
I was doing a version of something that felt like age appropriate and description appropriate, that would fit comfortably and naturally in my range and my psychology, that would sort of be convincing for me to do and interesting for me to do. That's what I went with. I think sometimes when you're building a character from scratch, you use like little blips, like little references of stuff, and you kind of like put that in there. Eventually it becomes your own after you've done it enough. But yeah, there's always like little fragments that you put in of other people or other like essences of characters and stuff. Yeah, what do you think?
Well, I know for ours, like when I showed up to the very first casting session that was going on, the auditions, essentially, there was a number of us that auditioned for this, obviously, because it's Sonic the Hedgehog, it's a bit of an important deal. And they were showing, like, I think, early versions of like some gameplay, some animation, all that kind of stuff, and from throughout. So I think they had probably pulled clips of both Jaleel, Ryan, Jason, and kind of like made this video. And from there, it was like, well, this is what we're hoping to have you understand this, where it's been, and this is what we're hoping to do from here on out. And at that time, I think they had already kind of had in mind the concept of what they were hoping would become sort of that Sonic boom, maybe a little bit more like almost like an Indiana Jones Adventure Series style of like a game that they were hoping to do, like Rise of Lyric and that kind of thing. And so I think they were trying to do it a little bit more contemporary, which is what the note that we were being given. And so again, duly noted, and now listen to what they want us to do from here. You know what I mean? It's like you take that as like, okay, that's what we did, so I know what maybe not to do. Not to say that what they were doing was wrong or bad, it's just we can't do that again, because we need to bring this, I don't know, it was like Phineas and Ferb, I think was one of the things that they were saying attitudinally from a comedic like acting style. It was something like that. They were trying to do a little bit more maybe Western Disney-esque kind of modern Disney cartoon kind of vibe. But again, this is 14 years ago. So it was that back then where I think they were trying to like take another step with the brand. No different than what we just experienced with Frontiers, which was like, okay, we could have gone right back to the same version of something you guys have heard, but we've got a couple different universes existing right now, so maybe we need to do something a little bit different as a game universe. And I think maybe that was their decision. I really don't know. I don't get to talk to Mr. and Mrs. Sega very often. I tried. Hey Siri, call Mr. and Mrs. Sega. I cannot do that for you right now.
Hello. This question is for Roger. I think the best role really able to be for hearing you for the first time was from regular show.
Oh, nice.
And trying to remember all the roles you did, and I realized it's a lot. So I just want to ask, what was it like having to do all those, and like any difficulties with having to do all of them? Or?
No, working on regular show was an absolute blast. I got to work with Mark Hamill, which was insane. Like literally, it was 5 or 7 years old or something like that when I went with Anthony, who lived on my street. His mom took us to go see Return of the Jedi, and also I'm working, I'm in Cartoon Network Studios and I'm working in this booth with Mark Hamill, and I'm just freaking out. But trying to be cool. Mark. And no, nothing was ever a challenge. It was too much fun. We just had so much fun on regular show. You can imagine. It was just cracking up all the time. And I will say that there's something, I think I put it in my own bio, that it's like I did something like 170 different characters on regular show alone. And you gotta realize it's maybe 5 voices, but like 100, what would that be? I can't do that. 169 different, characters that are like, top of vendor number 4, guy in the bar, man launched from cannon, like that kind of thing. Biker dude B, skater punk A, all that stuff. So everything kind of starts to, you borrow voices, never character, but it's like, that's what would happen. It's a lot of incidentals, and that's just 7 seasons of doing all sorts of different random things, but such an unbelievably fun show to work on, and JG and my God, everybody who worked on the show there was the absolute best. I missed that show dearly. I'd love for that to come back.
Can you give your favorite out of any of them?
I'm a friend from Summersett. Because I'm Margaret's dad, and
it was a voice that I didn't know that I could do. No joke. JD and Chris Zimmerman, our directors, they asked me to do scratch voice for this character that was going to be Margaret's dad. And they're like, hey, it's a news chopper helicopter pilot. I'm like, okay. And they're like, we're going to get Jesse Ventura to be the voice. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, in my mind, I got a pro wrestler, and I forgot, And so they go, yeah, would you mind scratching? And I said, yeah, Jesse Ventura, the pro wrestler. And so we start to roll, and I started doing Randy Macho Man Savage. This happened to a Slim Jim, and like, and JD's like, no, man, that's Randy Macho Man Savage. I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, wait, the governor, Jesse Ventura?
I'm the governor who is like that, conspiracy theories about helicopters that are, spying on you.
And JD's looking at me, and I'm going,
I didn't know I could do this.
So he's looking at our director, he's like, who's doing that?
I didn't know I could do this guy.
And next thing you know, they're like, did you do that for this? And I was like,
I'm going to go ahead and do that, for a guy.
I'm losing my voice on the Sunday here, but yeah, and then all of a sudden they were like, well, you're funnier than Jesse Ventura, we're going to have you do it. And I was like, yes.
So for Roger, you did a number of games.
This lovely woman is here.
I need Resident Evil questions. So you did Chris for a number of games.
Yes.
Was there any moment with your time with Chris that that's kind of held on to?
Boulder punching. Punching a boulder. I mean, what a great metaphor for life. No, I don't really know. I mean, like, I was so scared to death. I mean, like, I literally was that was the very first game that I'd done that was going to be something. And I was halfway through the recording session, and Liam O'Brien, our director, Stephanie Shea and Liam O'Brien directing on that game. And I remember, like, halfway through the session, I looked at Liam and I was like, this is going to be like a big game, right? And he's like, he's in the studio, and he's like, yeah, man, it's going to be a really big game. He's like, just like a lot of people know about Resident Evil, right? He's like, yeah, man, there's going to be a lot of people playing this game. And I was like, oh, cool. Oh, no. Oh, okay. I was just thrilled to be working, thrilled to be getting to do something that, it was like, I don't know that I've ever really, like, taken on a character and had something real deep and resonant, or, resonate with me, I should say, for a long period of time. But, yeah, no, nothing really sticks with me. I approach things very methodically, I lean very heavily on my directors, because they have the ear of the client, and it's their project, and you get to see so little of it, it can be very daunting to try to think about what you're involved with, because sometimes you don't even know. It's like you get lines, you know, and you're relying on your director to say, okay, so this scene, you know, Princess Zelda is this and this, and you're like, okay, you know, it's like, and Resident Evil 5 was that way for me too. It was also the first time I did facial motion capture. It was so many things, and most of the work we do is just that way. It's like you just go, it's like football. It's like you huddle up, you go, what do we do? You go and try to get the ball 10 yards. And you're like, okay, cool. And then you sit there and say, like, okay, you go that way, you go this way, and then somebody yells hike, and then you all just get obliterated for like 10 seconds. And then you all come back like bruised and bandaged. You go, what the hell just happened? Like, okay, hang on. Okay, what are we doing? What are we trying to do? And then the game comes out, and you're like, what just happened? That. So yeah, nothing sticks to me too much.
Were there any moments of Zelda that stuck with you?
That stuck with me?
Yeah.
Yeah, those. Lots of cutscenes.
That's not fair. Nothing sticks with me.
I know, really. When you flung off his Resident Evil, flung onto me and stuck to me too, and carried me around. It's horrible. I would say loads of stuff with Zelda, both in and out of game, and also going to conventions and hearing stories. There's so many things about being part of a large franchise that are incredibly, enriching, I would say. Enriching and just like exhilarating to be part of, and the way that it can actually, that lasts outside of game. That's one of the best parts of the Zelda series for sure. And the fact that you can be part of, an iconic thing. Trying to like be more specific. Apples, I love them. Like me, crafty. Yeah, crafty.
Okay, so my question is actually for Patricia.
Finally!
Before I ask my question, I just want to say that it was such an honor to be the first official voice of Princess Zelda. So my question, I actually had two. The first thing I learned today is that you can actually write in Highlander, and I was just like, what? Where did you learn to do that? And then I guess my second question is just, how did you guys find Zelda's voice? She's never been voiced before, so I'm just kind of curious what kinds of things they were saying to you to make you sort of figure out what her sound would be.
So the first, I read Twilight Princess Island, which is not I cheated. But actually, Zelda Universe has this incredible, they've gone and they've deciphered all the characters and they've put together the fonts. You can actually find that font online if you look up TV Highland font. So in that way, it was easier to learn. So I just did my ABCs with copy for several months while I was waiting for the first game to come out, and I was thinking, this feels like it's a good idea. It's very meditative. It's really fun. So the voice again, I auditioned for that game without knowing what the game was. So I came in with my ideas of what I felt to be I think in the specs they said something like 19-year-old princess, but kind of timeless, like older than 3 years. Weight of the world on her shoulders type thing, has like maybe a fraught relationship with her father. And she just sounded very, very regal and very maybe a little repressed and kind of, I took that and thought, real princess. I was also auditioning for several other characters and that, again, no idea what they were, and thought, what ultimately ended up being Raposa. I was like, well, that's usually what I tend to get when I get these characters, like warrior characters with deep, gravelly voices and things like that. So I was like, well, except this princess character looks interesting, so I'm going to try really hard. I had no idea what I was doing. And it's like my voice, but sort of lifted, and if you were technically, you'd say like a little bit of airy, like simple chords, sort of raised here, so it just sits up here. And then you add a British accent on that. So it's like, it's right here. And it's a lighter energy, right? So I was playing with something like that felt like it would sit in my range well, so that I would sustain it. And that's what I brought in. I went in for callbacks. They directed me around that range. And then they said, "You got this role." I was like, "Yay!" And I signed NDAs, and they're like, "And it's Zelda." I was like, "Oh my god!" Yeah, it's just, I don't know, you play with specs, and you always kind of start with the script, and you go, what kind of makes sense, like what's happening right now? It's not a lot, right? And every time you audition, you have to sort of bring what feels a little bit juicy at that time, and that's kind of just what came out. So. Again, had I known what it was, I might not have gone that direction, so I'm glad I didn't know what it was, and I'm like,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Hello. I just had a question that's for both of you. You've been recording for years and years, tons of characters. So I was curious if you had any funny stories of events that might have happened in the booth set, losing voices, or just something goofy or funny that had happened while recording.
I'm so bad at it. Like, I always forget if they've been unpleasant, I sort of brush them off. This is a little bit funny. I believe it was like For Honor, doing like death battles for hours. Gave myself a neck spasm in the booth, couldn't say anything, worked through, and then went home and was like, like on my back for some days. But it was just from like too much throwing my voice, which isn't really funny, but it's also what can happen sometimes when you're doing like really intense battle cries. And you kind of got to know your limits, and I surpassed mine. After like what it was like, like in 3 parts, doing that multiple times. Yeah, it's not really funny though, that's really sad. That's mine. So.
It's along the same lines for me. I was doing another one of those, like, it's always like For Honor of games, like the Medal of Honor, here's of War, games?
Yeah, the
games, the 4 games, it's always that. There was a game that I was in, I think it was on Metal Gear Solid game, where I was just, I know, Metal Gear of the solid nature. Yes, trash of pandas. And I was like a militia man B or something like that, and it was like, and we had been doing like a lot of screaming and yelling and that kind of thing, as you do is when you kind of start in the industry, you're kind of paying your dues, if you will, by doing a lot of like incidental characters. Usually it's just crowd work and yelling and screaming and that kind of thing. And we've been doing a bunch of this, and then there was a scene where like the guy, this character that I'm playing, was gonna like kick in the front door of some building. He's a military guy, he's like super tough, cool guy, kind of big, so like, okay, yeah, right. And she's, Chris was my director at the time, she's like, you're gonna kick the door, like kicking the big sound up front, right? And they're gonna scream to everybody to get on the ground, right? I'm like, okay, tough guy, cool. And so I go, and I've been like, wasn't quite ready to be doing like these like diaphragm punching sounds, of like where, all of a sudden you go from this big guttural sound, we probably did something quiet leading up to it. And so I go to kick in the door and then scream, get on the ground, but I had a massive hiccup in between the two. And similarly, the recording still exists. Chris loved it because she started dying laughing because you can picture what it was like to hear this tough guy essentially go, "Come get it!" But I think it went so high-paced. It was like, and it was so loud and so forceful because I just was not recording. And then I was laughing, and I had hiccups. I had to try to do the hiccups, to then do it all over again. And beyond that, most of the funny stories that ever happened are the kinds of things that we can't repeat here. Stuff was like, Terrence Strong has said to me in the booth, in character and that kind of thing, that we've shared, like, discussions and stories. It's just like, not even rated PG, so we'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we right at time, but like we get 1 or 2 more.
Speed round.
Yeah, and then get you guys back to the booth so that they can be able to see you guys there. So.
And if we can get through, nobody else lined up, if we can get through all of these questions, I am going to, as a celebration, really quick speed round, I'm going to donate the next hour's worth of income at my table to the Von Braun Center to finish this ceiling. All right? Woo! I'm still not doing that. What is going on? Are you okay? All right, we can do it.
I just got a quick, but is there a specific instance for both Zelda
in Sonic, like a specific game or movie or TV show, whatever, of the character that you wish you could play or you could have played?
Cheer Princess of Power.
Oh,
A
that's
little preview of my
So for Patricia, do you prefer the old Zelda games or the newer ones?
Oh, that's a thing. They're like kind of different animals. I like a little bit of like, I say like Ocarina of Time. Is that old for you? Is that like that? How old are you? What? I go to the original. Yeah.
That's not you, by the way. That's me. That's a trash can.
I like them both. I really like the open world, and I also like the originals. I like the open world.
Okay, so I'm trying to be a voice actor myself, and you two are like my biggest inspirations.
You need better inspirations.
I love you guys. How do you two get into voice acting?
Acting training. I started in theater, and everything sort of goes from there. And I have a little pamphlet at my because I can speak, and that's why I'm a voice actor. At my table, like resources that I think are great. But acting training, and that's the biggest advice I have, is you got to analyze the script, take direction. It's not just about voices; it's about all the other things around the voice that you bring in to breathe life into it. So, be theater trained.
Go be a really bad stand-up comic, because that's what happened with me. I was doing stand-up comedy for years, and a few people were asking me, "What are you going to keep doing more stand-up?" And I was like, "Hey, I think I'm doing something else." So that's really what was happening. So voices, like, yeah, do voices, that kind of thing. But it was still musical guitar, repertory theater as a kid, drumming, like acting, and just finding yourself in this thing, and going, "Oh, this is everything I love." Stick with it. Stick with it.
Thank you.
Never give up. Never give up.
For Assassin's Creed 2, you guys just have to learn like Italian for like the recognizable, not fake one.
No, gotcha. No, and thank goodness I had Edith Darvish and Peter Armasello, two incredibly wonderful, talented people who were my dialect coaches. Ida all the way through, halfway through Brotherhood, and Peter from Brotherhood on. And they would sit, like, Ida sat in the booth with me and would literally, like, give me the line, like, if I was saying, like, I'd be like, what is this, requiescat and paint? Yeah, like, no, so requiescat, and I'd be like, oh, requiescat and change, you know. And different words, like, insieme canatoria, like, she helped me, like, learn how to do it, what the rules were for the words, that kind of thing. And then we would kind of rehearse, go quickly, she go, got it, boom, we roll, get it, thumbs up all around, and we move on. So it's weird for me, because I like, go back and look at videos of that game, and I hear me speaking full paragraphs at a time, and I'm just like, what? Because again, it's the kind of thing where it's so fast. It's just rapid fire, and you're like cranking through thousands of lines of dialogue, and you do it, you move on, kind of a thing. So, no, I did not learn Italian. No. Even though, despite my very authentic Italian name of Roger Craig Smith.
That sounds very authentic.
Thank you, I appreciate it. It's Italian Spanglish is the accent. We're 2 away from a new ceiling for the Von Braun Center. We can do this. Or I guess 3 away, technically.
Gotta say, major fan of yours. I just gotta ask, if Sonic and Zelda were invited to Smash today, how would their reaction be?
Invited to where?
Invited to Smash Bros.
Smash
Oh,
Brothers.
Smash Bros.
I would love the floor with you.
Princess Zelda. She held off Ganon for 100 years.
That's true.
That's right. That's right. I would just wait it out. I'd wait it out, and then eventually fall.
I would just fall over. Like, I would develop such bad tendonitis from the foot tapping.
Yeah.
Let's go, Zelda.
You're like, look over there, and then roll down the hill.
We can do it. Yes, sorry. Oh, sorry. Yes. We were saying last question. Behind you, the last question. Sorry. We're in the rapid fire zone. We gotta go. Sorry. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Well, I wanted to ask both of you a question. For Roger, I wanted to ask, how was the motion capture for punching that boulder? Did you actually have to do motion capture for that?
No, God, no. I did facial motion capture only, and it was. It was motion capture only, and I think I remember like going, sorry, what? Yeah, you're punching a boulder. Like, what does that sound? Ow! You know, like, no, what it just punching sounds. That's all it was. And I just remember going like, you know, we fight giant spiders in this game. Why stop there? We're not punch boulders.
And for Patricia, between the two games, between the experiences between them, which experience did you enjoy most? You felt your performance?
I'm sorry, what?
Did you feel like your performance improved for Tears of the Kingdom versus Breath of the Wild?
With what? Sorry, with my performance with what?
Did you feel that your performance improved at all between games?
Oh, yes, I feel like,
Which one was your favorite?
improved. It evolved. I think like each game had a slightly different character about where the princess was coming from and how much she's been through. So by the time Tears of the Kingdom came out, everything was a little bit more sort of like dropped. I feel like she became a little bit more of like an experienced warrior, a little bit older. So I feel like that sits in the character differently. I quite like it, but I also like the fact that there is an evolution. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Complete nerve authority.